Good morning.
Sup? I wanted to speak a little bit about one of the animes that have been stuck in my head lately, and it's not Evangelion, it's Baki. I watched all of Baki recently, from the ones where Baki had ginger hair and all of that. And I watched it up until like the latest Netflix series, and I honestly love it. It's like amazing anime. I like it a lot. Yeah. It's been stuck in my head ever since I finished watching it. First season before the Netflix one. I don't think it aged very well. It had some pretty nice and generic build-up, I think, but overall it delivered. The main character, which is Baki Hanma, sometimes feels like complete and utter. And it's fun. It's a little bit different than all of the generic animes from 90s or early 2000s. So yeah, Baki is from 2001. Okay. Gives it this special charm because Baki is just like 14 years old and he's like complete and utter. And it's just so relatable at the age of 14. You know, growth hormones and all of that. This is just like all these raw emotions is just so aggressive. I don't think every single one of us was aggressive at the age of 14, but it was something that every one of us had to deal with. And we had this kind of like disbelief and feeling of not being understood. I think that's why Baki feels the way he feels, and that's why he is the way he is. And there's a lot of more motivation, of course, because his father, which is Yujiro Hanma, the most powerful being on Earth, he's called the Ogre. The 2001 anime shows him like trying to get strong as possible for him to defeat his father. I don't know why. Daddy issues, I guess. Yeah, so Baki tells a story in a very unusual way. And in the Netflix series, also, it feels like Baki is growing. Throughout the whole series, he feels like he is growing as a character, as a human being, as a boy, as a young man, and his motives change. He starts to like gain a lot of friends during his life and during his story. Sometimes he feels like a secondary character. He makes a lot of friends along the way, and sometimes the story not only focuses on him and his main motive with fighting with Yujiro, but also on the secondary characters. And secondary characters have very good pace of developing, I think, and the story sometimes focuses on them a lot more than on the main character. And it feels just so refreshing that the main character sometimes feels secondary, and you have a feeling of true progression. The story never gets like super stale. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it gets stale. I was distracted a lot of times, but overall the feeling of completion, every single character in the story feels complete. Yeah, it feels chaotic at times because you cannot ever predict what's gonna happen. In one of the seasons, a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit, they discovered like this kind of ancient person who fought dinosaurs, and his name is Pickle. The characters are over the top, and the story feels chaotic at times. You never expect what's gonna happen. Whenever they tell some kind of backstory, it's so unpredictable. There's this arc of like 5 prisoners, I believe, all coming to Japan to taste the defeat, as they said. And whenever the anime tells their backstory, it's just so like over the top, and it's just so funny. Like this one person pulled the boulders in the mountains in the blizzard, and it's cracked me out because sometimes you're expecting something badass or like cultured, but it just delivers something outrageous and out of ass. And I love it for it. Baki rocks. You also get a little bit of a culture as well. You get this over the top backstories, you get this over the top actions, fighting scenes, but also culture. Some of you may have the habit of like raising their pinky whenever they drink something. And Baki taught me why it is the way it is. I started doing it ironically whenever I drink something, but it just stick to me. And sometimes whenever I drink something, I just raise the pinky. I don't know why, but it was a symbol for monarchs. But it was a symbol of not being greedy, because aristocrats, whenever they had like a luxurious buffet or something, or a dinner, they always drank with their pinky raised up, and their pinky was supposed to be raised so whenever a droplet of water or other liquids run down the glass, they don't get the pinky wet, because the pinky was used along with the thumb to scoop a little bit of the salt to put on their meal. Yeah, and it was a sign of not being greedy. You do not cook the salt or any kind of spices with your hand, with a spoon, or you just use your pinky and a thumb and you just sprinkle it all over. Yeah, the fighting scenes are unpredictable and I love it for it. Baki is just like so overpowered at times, but sometimes feel weak as shit. And the best arc, the thing I love the most is like Yujiro suddenly appearing in Baki's life and teaching him like his way with the ladies. For those who watched it, you know what I'm talking about. In the last season, so slight spoilers ahead, be prepared. Baki staying still in this one position, he sweats so much, his sweat forms a puddle, and his imagination is so strong that he imagines a creature, a person, or whatever he wants from his sweat and fighting him, and his imagination is so powerful that the creatures that he creates from his sweat can literally hurt him. The more time passes, the more I realize I fucking miss Baki. And the biggest spoiler, I believe, because it concludes the whole story, and it also sums it up in a pretty niche way, at least the story of Baki. The story starts up as a redemption arc. Baki resents his father, and he doesn't even like his whole shtick of being the most powerful. Baki even says it himself that he doesn't want to be the most powerful creature on Earth. He just wants to be a little bit stronger than his father. And he even says that if his father was the weakest person on Earth, he would be cool if he was the second weakest. He just wants to be a little bit stronger than him, and that's it. And his story circles around the whole Yujiro thing, and he wants to beat him. He wants to be stronger than him, but at the end he changes his motives a little bit. He starts to notice Yujiro not as his enemy, as his father. He wants to spend a little bit of time with him. It develops so good into this, evolves into this kind of nice story of overcoming resentment, because Baki at the very end feels more connected to his dad, to Yujiro, and the ending feels just like a nice wrap up of the story. It's not like so over the top. The fighting scene is amazing. It lasts like, I believe, 2 or 3 even episodes. Yeah, the more time passes, the more I miss this whole universe, the over the top stories, the over the top fighting scenes, the characters, and the motives. And it just makes you want to work out and be most powerful version of yourself as well. I miss its universe, and I would love for it to be more of Baki, but unfortunately there isn't, as long as the manga doesn't get published locally. And yeah, I honestly recommend you start watching Baki. If you do not have the options to watch the 2001 series, just start with the next Netflix one. It's gonna be good as well, maybe not as powerful at the end, but just as good. And yeah, Baki is so far my favorite fighting anime, I believe, but soon I'll watch Hajime no Ippo, so we'll see how this statement holds up. So yeah, later, bye.